welcome to the show.
Picture this. A gripping tale unfolds in the emerald depths of Ireland. A terrified soul dashes through a sinister woodland, his path littered with enigmatic signs bearing the ominous phrase, "point of no return." These markers taunt him with cryptic numbers, hinting at distances or directions to an unknown destination. But escape proves futile. As darkness descends like a suffocating shroud, a flock of birds takes flight overhead, their wings cutting through the eerie silence. Suddenly, the ground gives way, plunging our hapless protagonist into a yawning chasm. In a heart-stopping instant, an unseen force seizes him, dragging him into the unknown. Meanwhile, in another corner of the Emerald Isle, we meet Mina, an artist with an unusual day job at a pet store. Fate takes an interesting turn when her employer tasks her with a peculiar mission: deliver a rare parrot to a zoo in a nearby city. Intrigued, Mina agrees and brings the exotic bird home for the night. In a moment of vulnerability, she confides in her feathered companion about her mother's passing 15 years prior. To her astonishment, the parrot begins to respond, bridging the gap between human and avian. As night falls, Mina undergoes a transformation. Donning a wig, she ventures into a local bar, weaving a web of fiction around herself. She introduces herself to a stranger, using a false name, and claims to be a ballerina, dancing through a life that isn't her own. Come morning, guilt gnaws at her conscience, and she finds herself apologizing to the parrot for her charade, confessing her fear that her true self might be unlikable. With heavy hearts and light luggage, the unlikely duo embarks on their journey. The road stretches before them, full of promise and peril. Mina's phone rings, her sister Lucy's voice a reminder of the family and nieces who cherish her. But Mina presses on, the call of adventure drowning out the ties of home. As the miles roll by, the landscape shifts and they find themselves on a road leading into an ancient, foreboding forest. Suddenly, their progress halts. The car sputters and dies, leaving them stranded in the growing gloom. To make matters worse, their connection to the outside world vanishes, leaving them truly alone. Clutching the parrot's cage like a lifeline, Mina steps onto the deserted road, hoping to find help in the oppressive darkness of the woods. But when she returns to where she left her vehicle, she's met with a chilling sight. The road is empty, her car vanished without a trace. Undaunted, Mina trudges on through the rapidly darkening forest. To keep her spirits up, she chatters away to her feathered companion, suggesting they christen it Darwin. As they venture deeper into the unknown, one can't help but wonder, what mysteries await them in this eerily familiar woodland? And how does their tale connect to the man we first encountered, fleeing through a similar dark forest? As the forest's eerie silence envelops Mina, a sudden burst of movement catches her eye. A woman dashes past, and without hesitation, Mina gives chase. Her pursuit leads her to a small, weathered cabin nestled among the trees. The mysterious woman flings open the door, urgently beckoning Mina inside with a chilling warning: enter now or forfeit her life. Instinct takes over, and Mina rushes into the cabin's shelter. Inside, she meets Malene, an elderly woman who's made this woodland refuge her home. But she's not alone. Two young companions, Carrara and Daniel, share this strange sanctuary. Malene's first command to Mina is peculiar: stand before a mirror. She explains that unseen entities, the Watchers, lurk outside after sunset, unable to breach the cabin's threshold. As Mina obeys, an unsettling sound like applause filters through the walls. Malene confirms the newcomer's worst fears. The Watchers are celebrating their latest acquisition. Dawn breaks and Mina, determined to leave this bizarre situation behind, announces her departure. Her companion's insistence that escape is impossible falls on deaf ears as she ventures into the forest. Malene pursues, revealing the forest's hallucinogenic nature and the possibility of survival within its bounds. She points out scattered signs marking a safe perimeter, the work of a mysterious figure known only as the Professor, whose current whereabouts remain unknown. As night descends once more, Daniel orchestrates a macabre performance for their unseen audience. He introduces Mina, but the Watchers' response is chillingly mundane. They simply request she act naturally. Meanwhile, Ciara, another resident, begins her nightly ritual, dancing to music that seems out of place in this surreal setting. Intrigued, Mina discovers a collection of discs containing recordings of a show called Love Search TV, a bizarre remnant of the outside world. The following day, Mina and Ciara embark on a foraging expedition for medicinal herbs. Ciara shares her story. She's fulfilling a promise to her missing husband, caring for Daniel in his absence. The man had ventured into the forest in search of an exit, never to return. Ciara confides in Mina about recent discoveries: strange burrows scattered throughout the woodland, suspected hideouts for the Watchers during daylight hours. She estimates her time in the cabin at nearly 5 months, though time seems to flow differently in this pocket of unreality. As Mina absorbs this information, questions multiply. What are these Watchers, and why do they observe the cabin's inhabitants? Who was the Professor, and what became of him? And most pressingly, is there truly no escape from this forest of illusions and unseen terrors? As the sun begins its descent, casting long shadows through the trees, one can't help but wonder what the approaching night will bring for Mina and her newfound companions. Life in the cabin takes on a surreal rhythm as Malene lays down the laws of survival: never venture out after nightfall, refuse entry to anyone, and always seek the sanctuary of light. Days blur into a monotonous haze, with Mina finding solace in endless television shows and long, introspective moments before the mirror. One fateful day, her knuckles rap against the glass, only to be answered by an ominous knock at the door. Malene's urgent command to freeze leaves everyone paralyzed, the air thick with unspoken dread. The following day brings a shift in routine as Mina and Daniel embark on a hunting expedition. Daniel reveals Malene's academic past, painting her as a self-proclaimed expert due to her lengthy tenure in this strange realm. His own 8-month stay has been devoid of outside contact, adding to the mystery. Emboldened by curiosity, Mina persuades Daniel to investigate one of the peculiar burrows dotting the forest. Descending into the unknown, Mina unearths a trove of bygone treasures: weathered newspapers, forgotten toys, discarded electronics, and an old bicycle, a potential key to freedom. As she secures the bike to be hauled up, an unsettling chorus of familiar nocturnal sounds reverberates through the darkness. Terror grips her as she calls out, only to watch helplessly as the lifeline falls at her feet. Scrambling to safety, they examine their finds, the bicycle kindling hope of escape. Malene's odd reaction to this discovery, however, raises new questions. Daniel's ingenuity shines as he cobbles together a rudimentary surveillance system, mounting a camera by the door. As night falls, their vigil is interrupted by a knock. A voice claiming to be Ciara's long-lost husband pleads for entry, but fails a simple test of familiarity. The chilling scene takes a horrifying turn as the figure is violently dragged into the forest depths. Immediately, an unprecedented pounding assaults the mirror, with Malene shielding the others until the onslaught subsides. Dawn breaks, and Malene, resolute in enforcing the rules, consigns the bicycle to the depths of the burrow. This act of finality prompts Mina to confront a long-buried memory, a sunny day turned tragic by a moment of childish defiance. The weight of guilt from that fateful car ride with her mother and sister still haunts her, a burden she's carried across time and into this bizarre forest realm. As the inhabitants of the cabin grapple with their latest brush with the unknown, questions multiply. What lies beyond the mirror? Who or what are the entities that observe and interact with them? And most pressingly, is there truly no escape from this forest of nightmares, or does salvation lie hidden within the very rules that bind them? With each passing day, the line between reality and illusion blurs further, leaving Mina and her companions to wonder if they'll ever unravel the mysteries that surround them. As winter's icy grip tightens around the forest, tensions within the cabin reach a breaking point. The dwindling food supply and lengthening nights fray nerves, leading to heated disputes. Ciara, driven by a desperate conviction that her husband's apparition was genuine, flees into the forest. Mina pursues, only to be met with Ciara's raw confession of belief. Their return to the cabin is marked by chaos. Daniel's enraged screams pierce the air as he bars entry to Malene and Mina. Forced to seek refuge beneath a tree, the women witness a chilling spectacle. Spindly, arachnid-like monstrosities emerge from the shadows, their shrill cries piercing the night as they observe Daniel and Carrara through the cabin window. These are the true forms of the Watchers, finally revealed in all their terrifying glory. When the coast clears, Mina and Malene make a frantic dash for the cabin, pleading for admittance. Faced with Daniel's stubborn refusal, Mina bares her soul, confessing her lifelong guilt over her mother's death. This raw display of vulnerability finally moves Daniel to open the door, and the group hurriedly assembles before the mirror, hoping to appease their unseen observers. Malene's revelation adds another layer to the mystery. She came to this place voluntarily, drawn by her background in history and mythology. She speaks of the Watchers as an ancient species, known by many names throughout human lore. These entities, she explains, study humans to perfect their mimicry, with no intention of ever releasing their subjects. The discovery of a hidden hatch in the cabin floor leads to a startling find: a fully equipped bunker filled with supplies and technology. An old computer yields a video recording from the enigmatic professor, revealed to be Rory Kilmartin. His account paints a disturbing picture of obsession and unethical experimentation. Martin, it seems, devoted his life to studying the Watchers, facing ridicule from his peers until he stumbled upon this wonderland in 1979. For years, he allowed the Watchers to observe him, gradually unraveling their secrets. The bunker's construction, he admits, came at a terrible cost, built by unsuspecting men from nearby villages, lured by the promise of work, only to fall victim to the Watchers while Martin observed from safety. This grim revelation casts a pall over the group. They now find themselves not just trapped in a mysterious forest, but inhabiting a space built on deceit and sacrifice. As they process this information, new questions arise. What was Martin's ultimate fate? Did he ever escape, or did he too fall victim to the Watchers? And most pressingly, armed with this new knowledge and resources, can Mina and her companions find a way to outwit these ancient, mimicking entities? The bunker, once a symbol of hope, now feels tainted by its dark origins. As night falls once more, the group must grapple not only with the external threat of the Watchers, but also with the moral implications of their sanctuary. In this forest where reality bends and identities blur, the line between savior and monster seems increasingly thin. The professor's chilling account continues, revealing a pivotal moment in his research: the appearance of a unique Watcher, a red-haired girl unlike any he'd encountered before. Driven by an insatiable curiosity and a growing obsession with conquering death itself, Martin crossed an unthinkable line. He captured this fairy-like being, subjecting her to experiments in a misguided attempt at communication and companionship. As the entity shifted between forms, sometimes a curious girl, other times a terrifying, long-limbed creature, Martin's experiments yielded unexpected results. He found himself growing closer to this otherworldly being, yet the breakthrough he sought remained elusive. Disillusioned and on the brink of despair, he prepared for one final act, leaving behind a hidden boat by the river, the sole escape route for any who might follow in his footsteps. The group watches in stunned silence as the final recording shows Martin ascending from the bunker. Gunshots echo, then an eerie quiet descends. The gravity of their situation sinks in. This is to be their last night in the forest. In a poignant moment, Ciara turns on music and dances, a final act of defiance against their grim circumstances. As dawn breaks, the group splits. Malene chooses to remain in the bunker while the others set out, following the birds as Martin instructed. Their journey is interrupted by a gunshot. Daniel, turning back, discovers Malene's lifeless body. The Watchers materialize behind him, but Mina urges them forward, knowing any hesitation could be fatal. They reach the promised boat, but their relief is short-lived. The river is frozen solid, rendering their escape vessel useless. Just as despair threatens to overwhelm them, an awe-inspiring sight unfolds. A massive, dragon-like creature emerges from the forest, its wings unfurling as it takes flight. In its wake, the ice shatters, setting their boat free but plunging them into treacherous waters. Tragedy strikes as Ciara is dragged beneath the icy surface, despite Mina's frantic attempts to save her. Daniel rows with all his might, and finally, mercifully, they break free of the forest's grasp. In a moment of bitter nostalgia, Mina spots a tree bearing her initials, a haunting echo of that fateful day with her mother. Exhausted beyond measure, Mina and Daniel find refuge in a village guest house, collapsing into a deep sleep, but their ordeal is far from over. Mina wakes in the night, and upon returning from the bathroom, is confronted with a horrifying sight. Daniel lies dead on the bed, while his reflection in the mirror wears a chilling smile. This twisted denouement leaves us reeling with questions. Has Mina truly escaped, or has she merely traded one nightmare for another? Is the smiling reflection evidence that a Watcher has taken Daniel's place, or is it a hallucination born of trauma and exhaustion? As dawn breaks on this new, uncertain reality, one thing becomes clear: the boundaries between the forest and the outside world, between reality and illusion, may be far more permeable than anyone could have imagined.